Perfect. Hi, my name is Christina. Okay, so I'm going to read off 3 definitions, and basically these 3 definitions is kind of what I made the questions off of, and so everything is going to reflect off of this. So for ethnicity, this refers to an individual that is from a specific culture rather than a race or race of people who are identified by the appearance of their physical attributes. Culture is the value and beliefs that the individual is accustomed to or has been raised in, creating specific behaviors and characteristics for their lifestyle. Privilege/oppression is an advantage given to a person due to race, religion, class, gender, etc. I will be using this term as more of a perspective from your background and being more of like an advantage or disadvantage, whichever one you think. Okay, so my first question is what ethnicity do you identify with?
I identify as Haitian.
Okay. And is your ethnicity always listed on an application, paperwork, anything like that?
No, not always.
Okay. And how does that make you feel?
It kind of makes me feel, I guess, annoyed because it'll only most of the times, it'll only list Black or African American, which leads to others assuming that all Black people are African American, which we aren't. So having I guess my specific ethnicity, or even just saying Afro-Caribbean listed, would be a better improvement.
So do you typically just pick the African American box because that's what you are closest to?
Yes.
Okay. What is your proudest feature you embrace from your ethnicity?
Proudest features such as
like your lips, your eyes, your genetics, your hair,
I think probably my hair or my nose. My nose is, in my family, we all have a very common nose. If you lined most of my family up, you would tell we're related by our noses.
Yeah.
Which I think is something that's very cool.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Same with mine. That's how all my family has the super big lips. So
yeah.
Okay. And then for culture, do your family speak any Haitian languages?
Well, there's only one language we speak, which is Haitian Creole.
Okay.
Yes.
And you speak that?
Yes.
Okay. And then, are you proud of knowing are you proud of knowing that language?
Of course, yeah. Yes.
Okay. How did you learn that, if you don't mind me asking?
I was born in Haiti, so I kind of always knew how to speak Creole. It's my first language.
Okay.
So I guess my parents taught me.
Yeah. And then do you remember how old you were when you started to speak English or when you started to learn English?
I learned English I started learning English around 5 years old, I think. 5 or 6 years old.
And then were you in America by then, or were you still in Haiti?
Yes.
You were here? Okay. When did you get here, if you don't mind me asking?
When I was in 2007, when I was 5.
Okay. When you got here, you started learning?
Yes.
That's awesome. I love that for you. Okay. In your culture, do women have a certain expectation and standard that they must consider when picking a spouse?
Is it when a certain standard for their spouse or a certain standard for themselves?
Both. If you want to talk about both, we can talk about both.
Okay. So I guess for a spouse, most women typically want like somebody who's hardworking or like just able to provide for them in the family. And I guess for themselves, most women typically expect each other to know how to like cook or clean, basically how to take care of their husband or partner.
Okay. And for men, are there any like certain things?
Most, I would say it's mostly just being able to provide.
Okay.
Like that's the main.
So do you feel like how can I say that? So like income is like really important for a man?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. With that being said, do you feel like these are because I know that you said that you were the only sister within your household. So do you feel like it makes it harder for you to find a spouse due to being the only girl? Like your expectations are higher as a female?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
I know when I was younger, it was sort of like I was being trained to find a partner.
Okay.
You know, like, I was taught to be in the kitchen, like, I think as early as like 6 or 7. I would always be in the house with my stepmom, helping out around the house and, you know, just looking around the house, like looking after the house, I guess, and making sure, like, oh, when my dad got home, like everything was okay, like dinner was cooked, everybody would, like, kids were, you know, fed, whatever. Yeah.
And how does that make you feel? Like as a woman, like how does that make you feel? Like that's what you're like you said trained. So how does that make you
Yeah.
feel?
It definitely makes me feel very annoyed, and I know like when I was younger, I sort of started rebelling a bit in that way. Like I didn't want to do anything that would make me a good partner or whatever, because if that's what my life would be reduced to, you know, then
Kind of didn't
is it
want
really
it.
worth it?
Yeah. No, I hear you. Okay. So with that being said, if you plan to have children, will you install these cultural traditions into them?
I actually don't plan on having children,
Okay.
but I think I would definitely make it less, I guess, misogynistic, or I guess less gender roles. I wouldn't instill that upon my children if I decided to have them.
Same. I'm the same way with my kids.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. That was a good conversation. I liked all that. Do you think being identified as Haitian gives you a higher acceptance than identifying as African American?
um, Not really, no.
No.
Especially like right now in these political times. I feel like even just going outside or like having something, because I'm very proud of my culture. I usually always have something representing Haiti with me. And I know like once the rumors about like Haitians eating cats or dogs came out, like it was kind of terrifying to step outside, you know, because you would just get slurs thrown at you or whatever. And I feel like
You're targeted?
if you were, yeah, and if you identified as, if I identified as African American, it probably wouldn't be the same.
Understood. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was my next question. How does that make you feel? But thank you for answering that. Do you think when your family decided to migrate to Florida area, they chose the area that they live in because it was a more predominantly Black area?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I think it was also because the area I grew up in was full of Haitians. There were a lot of
Okay.
Haitians around, so I was able to grow up with, people that I could speak the same language as,
Yeah.
or like hang out with.
So it was like a little Haitian outside of Haitian. Haitian, I
Yeah.
used to say. Yeah. That's awesome. So did you go to school with a lot of Haitians?
Yes, I
Yeah.
did.
Wow, that's
Yes.
cool. Okay. Do you think that was a disadvantage or an advantage?
I think it was kind of both. It was an advantage in the way that I could, like I was able to relate to people around me better, but also like once I grew up, like once I left my community and went to college, I realized it was like so much more different, kind of like a culture shock, like, oh, like, like not everybody around me is,
Yeah.
Haitian or like even black. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. While in high school, do you feel like there could have been better funding for your school?
Yes, there definitely could have. But I think I'm still grateful for the opportunities and experiences that my high school was able to give me because they care a lot about their students. So I know administrators and teachers who would go above and beyond to make sure that we got what we needed, even if it wasn't a lot.
Yeah. Because I know you said that you were in like a low ACS school. So do you feel
Mm-hmm.
like y'all had more like scholarships and more like college opportunities?
Um, I think I wouldn't say more college opportunities because I feel like we were kind of told to like stay within Florida, like especially with Bright Futures because that's what most of us were eligible for. And the program is nationwide, I think, but Bright Futures, they encouraged us to stay within Florida because that's what would help us get through school. And if we went out of state or anywhere else, college would be like so much more expensive, and we would be in debt, and so like yeah.
Okay. So with that being said, what is something that you would like all people to understand or accept about Haitians that is a misconception?
First, do not eat cats and dogs.
Okay.
Yeah. Second, I think Haitians are some of the most resilient and hardworking people I've encountered. Like, I know I'm saying this as a Haitian myself, but like, when I see other Haitians and how hard they work, especially those who come to the United States and they leave their families behind and they still work hard to make sure their families are, cared for while back at home, but also, they're struggling here in the United States
Yeah.
with like socially or economically.
Yeah. Did you ever struggle like socially or anything like that?
Um, like,
Like when you
what do you
first
mean?
moved here, did you ever like
Oh,
struggle socially?
oh yes.
Yeah.
I was definitely bullied a lot I would say like up to when I was in high school, just because I had a stronger accent, and I think even back when I was younger, like the whole thing about Haitians eating cats was also very popular for some reason. And my neighborhood, we had a lot of cats around, and so I know students they would like make jokes about like the cats having to fear for themselves because they don't want one of us to eat them or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think that's it. Unless there's anything else that you want to point out or talk about.
No, I don't think so.